Welcome back, guys, to another video of Lord of the Mysteries. Today, we are going to read chapter number 9, The Notebook. Let me update this text here. No, the text, yes. Yes, chapter number 9, called The Notebook. And before I do, in the last chapter, we read about a little about Algar and how he killed someone and uh, lied to another man that he escaped, the person escaped, and how he stole or got caught or somehow acquired a mysterious ghost ship that repairs itself, self-repairing ghost ship. So that's one thing. And then we saw Audrey Audrey getting ready for a grand celebration, and it was basically they were celebrating the completion of a battleship with cannons and everything for war. So they were quite happy with their technology, and it was a quite a major part of that chapter. I think it's going to come to importance later on the story as the story goes on. Today we are going to continue. Let's get started, and I will get the music started as well. Okay, music is started. Let's get started. After half an hour of rest, Zumgrui, who now viewed himself as Klein, finally recovered. In the meantime, he found that there were now 4 black dots on the back of his hand, which happened to form a small square. These 4 black dots faded and disappeared quickly, but Klein knew that they were still hiding in his body, waiting to be awakened. 4 spots forming a square. Is it in correspondence with the 4 pieces of staple food at the 4 corners of the room? Does this mean that in the future I don't need to prepare the food and can do the ritual and chants immediately? Klein made a guess that this might seem good, but the emergence of the spots was ominous, and the things that one lacked understanding of were always scary. The fact that those inexplicable Chinese divinations from Earth could produce effects here, the strange transmigration in his sleep, the mysterious murmurings that almost drove him crazy during the ritual, and the mysterious and trippy grey world whose significance he had no idea of made Klein shiver in hot weather of June. One thing I like is that they're using Klein as to indicate himself, as to indicate his main self, rather than Zumgui, because it is difficult for me to pronounce. So I like that they are using Klein. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest fear is the fear of the unknown. He recalled this thing as he was experiencing the fear of the unknown acutely. There was in him an unexpected, unprecedented, and irresistible urge to make contact with the mysterious domain, to learn more, and to explore the unknown. There were also a contradicting escape mentality within him, compelling him to pretend nothing had happened. Intense sunlight shone through the window to the desk. It was as if there were grains of gold sprinkled on the desk. Klein gazed at the desk, feeling as though he had come into contact with warmth and hope. Sorry, as I'm recording it late at night, so I'm quite yawning because of the circadian rhythm. I'm not actually sleepy at all, but at night my body just starts to yawn, and because it thinks I'm going to sleep, but I'm not sleepy at all, and I'm not going to sleep. Let's go. He relaxed slightly, and a strong sense of fatigue washed over him. His eyelids were as heavy as lead as they kept closing themselves. It must have been the combined effect of the sleepless night and the tiring encounter. Klein shook his head and pushed himself up with the aid of the desk. He stumbled towards the double decked bed. Completely disregarding the rye bread placed on the four corners of the room, he fell asleep immediately after he lay down. Groan, groan. Klein was woken up by hunger fangs. When he opened his eyes, he felt rejuvenated. There was still a slight headache. He rubbed his temples and sat up. He was so hungry that he could eat a horse. He returned to the desk while straightening his shirt. He picked up the silver wine leaf pocket watch. The pocket watch lid sprang open and the second hand was ticking. 12:30. I slept for 3 hours. Klein put the pocket watch back into his linen shirt pocket in while swallowing. In the northern continent, there were 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, and 60 seconds in a minute. Whether each second passed at the same rate here compared to Earth was unknown to Klein. At this moment, he could not even think of terms such as mysticism, rituals, or the Greyish world. His mind was occupied by one thing: food. He would leave the thinking to after his meals. Only then could he work. Klein picked up the loaves of rye bread from the four corners and wiped them off the minute wiped off the minute speck of dust on it without any hesitation. He planned on making one of them his lunch. He decided to dig into the offerings because he only had 5 pence with him, and there was a tradition of eating the offerings back in his hometown. After all, there were not any observable change to the bread. It was better to be frugal. Of course, the memory and habits left behind by the original client had also played a role. It was a huge waste to use the expensive gas only to light up the room, so Klein took out a furnace and boiled water with it, adding adding some coal. He paced around as he waited. Anyone would choke eating these loaves of rye bread without water. Yikes, life with meat only for dinner is going to be dreadful. No, wait, this is already an exception. Melissa would only allow our meals to have meat twice a week, if not for my upcoming interview, Klein thought. As he looked around, hungry, he had nothing better to do. His eyes seemed to turn avaricious when he set his eyes on the pound of mutton in the cupboard. No, I need to wait for Melissa to eat it together, Klein thought as he shook his head and rejected the idea of cooking half of it right now. Although he often ate outside, he had still developed some basic culinary skills. Owing to his living in a big city alone, his dishes were not delicious, but they were at least edible. Klein turned his body around so that the mutton would not seduce him. Then he suddenly realized that he had also bought peas and potatoes in the morning. Potatoes. Klein immediately had an idea. He quickly turned back to the cupboard and took out 2 potatoes from a tiny pile of them. He first cleaned the potatoes in the public bathroom and then added them into the pot so they were boiled together with the water. After a while, he sparkled into the water some yellow coarse salt from the spice container he found inside the cupboard. He waited patiently for a few minutes before lifting the pot and pouring the soup into a few cups and bowls. He took out the potatoes with a fork and placed them on the desk at the end. He blew at the potatoes as he peeled ate bit by bit. The fragrance of boiled potato diffused through the air. It smelled very appetizing. What the hell I'm doing? Appetizing. It smelled very appetizing. He salivated crazily. The heat could not deter him any longer. Klein took a bite despite having the potato only half peeled. Half fragrant, it had a powdery texture and tasted sweet as he chewed. He was instantly filled with emotions and he wolfed down the two potatoes. He even ate some of the skin. Then he held up the bowl and enjoyed the soup. The pinch of salt in water proved to be thirst quenching. I really enjoyed eating potatoes. This is why, when I was young, a filled client exclaimed in his head. Meanwhile, he tore off a small piece of bread and dipped it into the soup to eat it softened. Perhaps the ritual was too tiring. Klein ate 2 loaves of bread, which amounted to a whole pound. Klein felt he was finally rejuvenated. He enjoyed the joy of life after he drank the soup. Before tidying up, then he took in the lustrous sunshine happily. He sat back at the desk and began planning. I can't escape. I must think of a way to come into contact with mysticism and become a beyonder, as mentioned by Justice and the Hanged Man. I need to overcome the fear of the unknown. The only way now is to wait for the next gathering. I need to try listen for the formula of the spectator potion or other things related to mysticism. There are 4 more days before Monday. Before that, I need to first figure out the problem with Klein. Why did he commit suicide? What happened to him? Unable to transmigrate back and wash his hands off everything, Klein picked up the notebook that lay on the table. He wanted to find hints that could help him regain his lost memory fragments. The original Klein obviously had the habit of taking notes. He also liked to write diaries. Okay, where was I? Yes. Klein was fully aware that the cabinet that supported the desk on the right stored a whole stack of completed notebooks. The book we had begun on the 10th of May matters regarding his school and mentor, as well as content pertaining to knowledge were at the beginning. 12th May, Mr. Ezek mentioned that the common language used by the Balaam Empire in the southern continent also developed from the ancient Phasic, a branch of Jotun. Why is it? Why is this so? Does this mean that every sentient living being once spoke the same language? No, there has to be a mistake. According to the revelation of Evernight and the Book of Storms, giants were not the only hegemons of the world in primordial times. There were also elves, mutants, and dragons. Anyways, these are just myths and fantasies. Do I have to write these things? I think I should note some of these things as to you know uh, come to terms with it later. Not exactly noting, but I think I should just write some things, some key points, such as the languages or something like that, or characters that we have mentioned that have been mentioned till yet. Uh, just wait a second, I will go fetch some notebook to write it on. Okay, so I wrote some things. I have this small notebook here. If you could see, if it's not, it's actually too bright, I think. But in this notebook, I wrote some things such as the Phasic language, Mr. Azak, or Azik, or whatever it is, his teacher, I presume. And I have also written the Balaam Empire is in the southern continent, things like this. And I will continue writing this, whichever I think is important, or things related to locations, so that I can make a map of my own here. So let's continue. 16th May, Senior Associate Professor Cohen and Mr. Ezek discussed the inevitability of the age of steam. Mr. Ezek opened Yeah, opined. What the fuck is this? OPINED. Opined that it was just a coincidence because if it wasn't for Emperor Roselle, the northern continent would still be wielding swords like the southern continent. Mentor argued that Mr. Ezek had placed too much emphasis on the contribution of an individual. He believes that with progress, even if there wasn't an Emperor Roselle, there would be an Emperor Robert. Therefore, the age of steam might come late but eventually come nevertheless. I found little meaning in their discussion. I prefer discovering new things and unraveling the hidden past. Perhaps I am more suited to study archaeology than history. So I think Emperor Roselle, I should write. E and the northern continent. Okay. 29th May. Welch found me and told me that he had acquired a notebook from the fourth epoch of oh my goodness, a goddess. A notebook from the fourth epoch. He didn't want to ask the archaeology department students for help, so he came to Naya and me to help him decode the contents. How can I refuse? Of course, I can only do it after my graduation defense. I can't afford diverting my attention at this stage. So, Relch and Naya are two new characters. Okay. This caught clients' attention. Compared to the notes about history and viewpoint disagreements, the appearance of a notebook from the fourth epoch might have led to clients' suicide. The fourth epoch was epoch before the present Iron Age. Its history was mysterious and incomplete due to the fact that very few tombs, ancient cities, and records have been found. Ar- Archaeologists and historians could only refer to the ambiguous records provided by the seven major churches that center around their religious teachings to roughly form the original picture. They knew the existence of Solomon Empire, the Tudor dynasty, and the Turnsoist Empire. What the fuck is a Turnsoist Empire? I think Turnsoist Empire is not that important, but I think I read Solomon Empire and the Tudor dynasty before in this last eight chapters, so I'm going to add that. Okay. Having set his sights on solving the mystery and restoring history, Klein didn't have much interest in the first three eras, whose roots were closer to legends. He was more interested in the fourth epoch, also known as the Age of the Gods. So Klein was concerned for his future career and thus focused on the interview. But it was all futile. Klein could not resist exclaiming. Universities were still very scarce, and the majority of students were either from a noble or wealthy family. As long as he did not have an extreme mindset, a commoner who had been admitted into university would have been able to build precious social connections through group discussions and networking events, despite the prejudice and exclusion from the entrenched social circles. The very generous Welch McGovern was an example. He was the son of a banker from Townstead City, Mid-Seashire, Mid-Seashire, Leon Kingdom. He was used to ask Nyla and Klein for help because they were always in the same group for work. Without thinking further, Klein continued reading the notebook. 18th June. I have graduated Farewell, Cork University. 19 June. I have seen the notebook. By comparing sentence structures and root words, I discovered that it is a modified form of ancient Fesak. More precisely, over the course of its thousand-year history, the Fesak language had changed constantly, a little at a time. 20 June. We have deciphered the contents of the first page. The author was a member of a family called Antigonus. 21st June. He mentioned the Dark Emperor. This is an, an anachronistic anachronistic with the regards to the time this notebook is deduced to be written. It is Professor Wrong. Is Dark Emperor a common title for every emperor of the Solomon Empire? 22nd June. The Antigonus family apparently had a very high standing in the Solomon Empire. The author mentions that he was making a secret transaction with a person named Tudor. Tudor? Is it related to the Tudor dynasty? 23rd June. I am trying to restrain myself from thinking about the notebook and going to Welch's place. I need to prepare for the interview. It's very important. 24th June. Naila tells me that they have found something new. I think I need to check it out. 25th June. From the new deciphered content, the author has accepted a mission to visit the nation of the Evernite, situated at the summit of the highest peak of the Horanix mountain range. Oh my goodness, how can a nation exist at the summit of that peak, which is over 6,000 meters above sea level? How do they survive? 26 June. Are these strange things real? The record ended at this point. Zuminguri transmigrated in the early hours of the 28th, which means to say that there was indeed an entry for June 27th. It's that line. Everyone will die, including me. Klein flipped to the page he first saw when he arrived, feeling goosebumps while he made the deduction. In order to solve the mystery of the original Klein's suicide, he thought that he should visit Welch and take a look at the ancient notebook. However, with a lot of experience from novels, movies, and TV drama series, he suspected that if they were really related, this visit could be very dangerous. Those who weren't investigating castles, despite knowing that they were served as a haunted, served as a warning. However, he had to go since escaping would never solve the problem. It would only make things worse until it walled over and completely drowned. Perhaps call the police, but claiming to have committed suicide would be silly, right? Knock, knock, knock. There was a series of quick and forceful knocks. Klein sat straight up and listened. Knock, knock, knock. The knocks echoed through the empty hall. And that's the end of the chapter. Yes, that's the end of the chapter. It was a great read. I liked this chapter very much, and we got a look into the history of this word. And we are constantly reminded of the Fesak language's importance, and the Tudor dynasty and the Solomon Empire was very back in the fourth epoch. The Antigonus, I let me write it. Antigonus. So Antigonus family's notebook, I think, is important. They were researching that, and then after researching something or somewhat, someone influenced Klein, or Klein himself committed suicide. I don't know. We don't know, but we will get to know in the future. Thank you for watching this video, and if you like what you're watching, subscribe to the channel and like the video so that I get to post many more such videos, and I will stream all of this when I hit 100 subscribers, and you can get and come chill there. We can have much more fun. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.